Haunted Michigan. Terrifying Tales.
Welcome to episode 4 of Haunted Michigan. I'm your host, Meltdown. Coming up here in a few minutes, we'll talk to Mark and Terri from Marter Paranormal. They're coming up here in just a bit. But first, it's author Roxanne Rhoads. She's authored a couple books, and we'll talk about those, as well as the haunted houses, yes, houses, that she's lived in. I guess her family has this knack for, gathering and recognizing spirits. We'll talk about that. And she's got some scary stories to tell. It's author Roxanne Rhoads to start up this episode of Haunted Michigan. Hey, Roxanne, thanks so much for joining us to talk about Haunted Michigan. How are you?
Good.
So you're an author. You've written a couple books here, Haunted Flint and the Ghosts and Legends of Genesee and Lapeer County. So first of all, let's go back. Just what got you started as far as the paranormal and ghosts and that kind of thing?
It's just something I've always been interested in. Even when I was a little kid, ghost stories just fascinated me. When I was a kid, I loved Scooby-Doo and the Munsters and Addams Family and stuff like that. And it just progressed over the years. Probably personal experiences made it even more interesting. My mom's house, the house I grew up in, spooked me so much. There was all kinds of just weird stuff there all the time. And just over the years, I've had numerous experiences, and I just started researching things and really getting into learning about spirits and just kind of collecting ghost stories around the area, all over Flint, Genesee County, and then I've just been collecting them all over Michigan. And I try to visit a lot of the areas. Like, I do haunted vacations. Basically, I go to all the haunted hotspots that people talk about whenever we go on vacation.
Now, where did you grow up? Like, where was your mom's house? You don't have to
In Flint,
Oh,
right
Flint.
on the edge of Flushing.
Okay. And is it still around?
It's still there. It's empty right now. She passed away last year, and it's just sitting there empty, which makes it even creepier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to even go in the house because it just creeps me out so much.
Is that right? Well, sorry, first of all, for your mom's passing. But yeah, that's unbelievable. So when did you put these books out? How long ago was that?
Haunted Flint came out in 2019, and Ghosts and Legends just came out at the end of August.
Okay, so that's brand new. Okay.
Yeah, that's brand new.
So how much research do you kind of do for these kind of things?
Oh, a lot, because they're published through the History Press, so it's a hard focus on history. And then, so we focus on historical locations that have ghost stories attached to them. So a lot of museums, hospitals, libraries, the library at the U of M Flint campus, even though that one's not that old, that library was built in 96, but it's on the location of grounds where another library was close by, the Carnegie Library. And there's some ghost stories attached to that. And like the Stockton house in downtown Flint goes all the way back mid 1800s, and it has a lot of ghost stories attached to it. And so basically I try to focus on the haunted locations, and we try to find something in history that could account for the stories. Like, was someone murdered there? We found quite a few places in Flint that are actually on like old battlegrounds that were built on top of cemeteries, that were built on top of native burial grounds. It's crazy what you can uncover in the history of a place. That makes the truth sound weirder than fiction sometimes.
So I sent you an email earlier. I wanted you to talk about perhaps maybe some of the most haunted or creepiest places in Michigan. So in your mind, you talked about your Flint and Genesee County and Lapeer, the Ghosts and Legends book. Where is some of the most haunted, scariest places in Michigan?
Well, in the Flint area, I would say the Stockton house. It was an old like Victorian house, but they added onto it and turned it into a hospital. So the back section of it is this big monstrosity of an addition, and it's like 3 stories. There's an old morgue, it had a morgue, it had the whole 9 yards of a hospital. And it is just so creepy. I had an office there for a month, and I did not want to be alone in that building at all.
Really?
It was it was terrifying to be alone because even though you know you're the only person in the building, you just keep hearing things. And it's like, it sounds like people are walking on the floors above you. There's creaks on the stairs, and it's like, mm-mm.
So wait a second, you're into all this kind of stuff, and then you get an office space at a place where that kind of stuff happens, and you're like, no, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it was just convenient because I needed a space to take pictures for another book that I'd worked on. And so I was familiar with the building from touring it and working on Haunted Flint. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I just don't want to be here alone at night.
Hmm.
And then one night my husband had to leave and go get his phone because he forgot his phone. I'm like, you're gonna leave me here by myself? He's like, I'll be right back. It's fine. So I'm sitting there the whole time he's gone, just not wanting to leave my office at all. Because I'm hearing things. I'm hearing like doors open and shut. I'm like, I know we're the only ones in here. I turned the alarm off. I'm like, oh no, this is like, I'm like, you need to hurry up and get back. I do not want to be here any longer. And luckily he was only gone like 15 minutes, but it seemed like it was forever.
So outside of that, have you ever had like an experience?
Oh yeah. My house has numerous spirits attached to it. Most of them seem to be, friendly. They don't bother us or anything. But at one point, I think it was soon after I started researching Haunted Flint. I don't know if something attached to me and came home with me, but I'm laying in bed sleeping and I get woke up to the floorboards at the end of my bed creaking. And there's no one in there. I never heard my bedroom door open. And it just back and forth, back and forth. The floorboards are creaking like someone's pacing at the end of my bed. I wake up, I'm laying there. I'm just utterly still because I don't know what's going on. Sweat's dripping down me. I'm starting to shake and I'm just freaking out. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to look. I'm going to look. And then all of a sudden it feels like someone put their hand on my face and held it there, like telling me, no, do not look. Do not look at whatever's going on. And that even freaked me out more. So I'm laying there trying not to even breathe with this hand on my head, like telling me not to move. And then the sound stops, the hand's gone. I sit up and there's nothing there. I'm like, what the hell just happened? It was like having a nightmare, but I was fully awake. And after that, I had a friend who is into the spiritual stuff. She's a shaman. She came in and cleansed my entire house spiritually. And I haven't had any more super freaky experiences like that because that was just utterly terrifying. It's like, my bedroom, especially, is my safe space. It's like,
Right.
don't come in here. It's like, stay out there. I don't want you in here. Um, I think we collect spirits though. I am very into antiquing and going to estate sales, and that's basically just buying dead people's stuff.
Hmm.
And I feel like we keep bringing stuff home, even though it gets metaphysically cleansed. And I try to, you know, feel it and make sure there's nothing bad attached to it. So we don't usually end up with bad spirits. But that one, I'm not sure what was going on with that one. That one was just terrifying.
Now, are you still in that house or no?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
still live here. We just kind of coexist.
So you say that most of the spirits you name them like as friendly or whatever.
Yeah, it's like as long as they don't bother us, we don't worry too much about them. Things get moved around in the house. Uh, and I think they're just trying to, like let us know they're here sometimes because
Right.
things will just totally disappear and then reappear in a place we looked for them like 50 times, and then suddenly, like my son one day was looking all over for, I think it was his keys. He couldn't find his keys, looked everywhere, walked back in his bedroom, and they're right there in the middle of the floor. He's
Mm.
like, I've been in here 50 times. He's like, those were not there. I'm like, maybe not. He's like, no, those were not there. I would have stepped right on them when I walked in the room.
So
So it's weird things like that that just get moved around and then they reappear. And
that's crazy. So what kind of stuff did you learn from writing these books?
that Flint is very haunted.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah.
I was surprised. Just Flint's small, and especially right in the city limits. It's very small. And we uncovered over 40 locations just within the city limits or right outside city limits.
Mm.
And that's a lot. And they're all like within walking distance of each other, historical buildings, old cemeteries. there's just a lot going on down there. People have experienced a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah. And when you start writing your book, do you put something out like I did on the internet saying, "Hey, I'm looking for people that have, had
Yes,
experiences or whatever?"
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And did you get flooded like I did?
Kinda, yeah. It's like, "Oh my god, have you tried this place? Have you tried that place?" And yeah, so we ended up with a huge list and we just started going down through the list, trying to see if it would fit in the book, if we could find a lot of history on it, if there was anything interesting in the history, like, murders, mysterious deaths, strange things. That always makes a good story. And
Hmm.
then just interesting stuff. Um, like there were several old houses in Flint that have, ties to General Motors, the men that started General Motors, places very significant in history. And we found a lot of places like that in Flint, which was really cool.
Now, earlier you mentioned that you kind of go on sometimes haunted vacations. Do you take those around Michigan or outside of Michigan?
Everywhere. Last summer we did a spooky road trip. We went to Salem, Massachusetts. We went to Sleepy Hollow, New York.
Hmm.
This year we stayed in Michigan and we went to Mackinac Island in Mackinac City.
What'd you
And
think?
there's a lot of ghost stories and a lot of haunted places around Mackinac, especially the forts. There's definitely an energy at the forts that was interesting. I liked the fort at Mackinac City more than the fort on the island. It seemed more welcoming. Like the spirits there were like, yeah, come in here, check us out, remember us. This is what happened with us. While the island just seemed like, leave us alone, go away. We don't want to deal with you.
No, yeah, it's amazing. So do you think that if you're looking for this kind of stuff that you see it more than people that just kind of go about their daily business?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you always are going to find more when you're actually looking for it. And people that are interested in it, whether it's the power of suggestion or they actually have any gifts that can help them see. Because my theory is that, ghosts and everything works on a frequency. And some people can tune into those frequencies and other people can't, or they're just not paying attention to it or trying to. So I think sometimes people can see things and other people don't. It's like my husband, he sees spirits all the time. I don't see anything, which is probably good because I'd probably have a heart attack if one just manifested in front of me. But I hear things sometimes. It's like I will hear voices and music when I know there's nothing there. But he just full on sees things. And he's like, yeah, did you see that person over there? I'm like, nope.
Really?
That's not a person. He's like, so that was a ghost? I'm like, if you're seeing something, must be because I don't see it.
And I take it he's into this kind of thing as well. He likes to
Oh
go.
no, he hates it.
Oh,
He's
really? Okay.
absolutely terrified of it. He wants nothing to do with it, but yet he's the one that actually sees them.
Yeah,
And
he's sort of a
my
conduit.
daughter's like that too. It's like she's seen a couple that she's like, they just show up and they look like real people until they just disintegrate and they're gone.
Mm.
It's like, I'm glad I don't do that. I'm glad I don't see that. It's like, I like the thought of it, but at the same time, I think it would be terrifying to just encounter that face to face.
Well, that's a crazy story you told us about laying in bed. Is there anything else? Any other stories that popped to your mind?
Um, well, at my mom's house when I was young, I was getting ready for school one morning. My mom worked third shift, and my grandma was in the hospital at the time because normally she was always there with me. I was young teenager, probably 13, 14. And I'm all by myself in this house getting ready for school one morning. And the bathroom had an old laundry chute in there behind the door, and it was metal. And while I'm standing there doing my hair and makeup, getting ready for school, it sounded like claws were coming up that laundry chute, just ripping through the metal. And I have no explanation for it. When we looked at it later, there's no marks in the metal, but it was just this screeching, awful, like, that sound that claws or something makes when it's tearing through metal. I was like, I'm not finishing my makeup. I'm out of here. I just grabbed my stuff, went outside, and sat there and waited for the bus. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, get out.
And that's one reason, why I hate that house because it was just creepy like that all the time. It just terrified me.
What about your mom? What did she think?
I don't think she ever had any problems with it. She wasn't scared of it. She, she talked about spirits and the paranormal like they were no big deal, like they were just another part of life. It was a normal thing.
Mm.
And, but yeah, she never seemed scared of anything. When someone would die, she would say, that they would give her a sign that everything was okay on the other side. And she always seemed to get that sign. Like when her husband, my stepdad, passed away, she woke up in the morning and her wedding ring was off and on the table. And before that, she couldn't take the ring off,
Mhm.
it didn't come off anymore because of arthritis and her knuckles and everything. And she felt like that was a sign that he was saying, everything's okay. I made it to the other side. That was her sign. And it was just, that's probably another reason why I love all the paranormal stuff, because she always talked about it like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And my grandma and her always had, old stories, old wives' tales, superstitions, ghost stories and stuff. So it's just an everyday thing growing up.
So, as someone who has traveled this state and stuff, where would you suggest somebody goes if they're interested in this to maybe, I don't know, maybe to have an experience or whatever? Would you say Flint?
Flint, yes, Flint is good. There's a lot of places. They're not doing a lot to promote it though. Some of the places like the Eloise and what is it? There's a asylum. I think it's up in Traverse City
Mhm.
that does tours. Places like that that are open to people, coming and checking them out are good, especially if you're new to it, because it's so hard to get permission to check out places that aren't open to the spooky stuff. The Henderson Castle is a good place in Kalamazoo
No,
because
I stayed there a couple months, about 6 months ago, and I was talking about this with somebody else. Some people say yes, some people say no.
I we stayed in one of the rooms there and it was definitely creepy. Um I took some photos in the room, and in one photo of an art piece on the wall, it looks like there's a person in it, like in the art. But yet when you just look at the art in the room, there's nothing there.
Hmm.
It's like, what is that? That's weird. And when my phone was sitting on a table in the room, it just turned on and took a picture by itself. I'm
Really?
like, did you see that? It's like, yeah, my phone just flash everything. You heard it. And I looked and it's like a picture of the ceiling. It's like, what the hell? We were supposed to stay 2 nights and we only ended up staying one. And we came home. We're like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I liked staying at that place. I only stayed the one night, and we tried to go up on the top to go in the hot tub, but we couldn't get the door open on the top. So I'm not exactly sure what happened with that. But well, anyways, Haunted Flint and also Ghosts and Legends of Genesee and Lapeer. People can get those books right now. You have a website you want to push or anything?
Yeah, haunted/flint.com. And they're also available pretty much everywhere, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Locally, they're usually in the Walgreens stores,
Okay.
and Target sometimes carries them too.
And this
So,
is a good time of year to get them.
oh, definitely. Definitely.
Well, Roxanne, so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking part.
Thank you for having me.
Marter Paranormal started in 2011 with Mark and Terri at the helm. In this conversation, we talk a lot about the Willis area. That's been brought up in past episodes of Haunted Michigan. We also talk about how they investigate new and old ways and a ton more. Check out their website at marterparanormal.com. And right now, it's Mark and Terri on Haunted Michigan. Mark and Terri from Marter Paranormal. How you guys doing? Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
How we doing?
Good. Real fast, give us a brief history of what you guys have, Marter Paranormal. I guess you guys started in 2011. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And why would you go on and do this by yourself?
We want to try some new theories and resurrect some of the older theories that people have forgotten about or no longer use. we also wanted to be a little bit more scientific than some of the groups out there.
Okay, so give me some examples of stuff that people no longer use that you guys decided you wanted to stick with.
Some of the EVP work that was done with radio frequencies back in 50s and 60s, you could use that, but now because the fact is there's so many frequencies out there, so much electronic gear, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, it just, you can't use the same equipment or run that theory anymore.
And you guys are married, I take it?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys, that's pretty cool. You guys are like in a paranormal family, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So, Terry, you were saying earlier before we started that you guys wanted to investigate new things. Explain that, or was it what Mark was talking about, or did you want to go out and try to go different places, or what's that mean?
Well, we wanted to try some different techniques. We wanted a lot of, instead of just going by, a lot of groups go by just psychics, and we wanted to try for more tangible evidence. We wanted to try with all the new technology that's out there, how can we apply this to see what kind of tangible evidence we can get? So, anything cutting edge that's coming out. Mark is he's got his mad scientist laboratory in the basement where he makes his own equipment too, to test new things and see how different things would work.
Now, with the equipment that you're making, Mark, are you using older stuff, or are you trying to develop new things?
I'm trying to use some of the newer stuff, but I'm using it on older equipment.
Gotcha. Okay. So have you, so you guys, how long have you guys been doing this? You said that you started Marter Paranormal in 2011, but how far back does your history go with this?
About 13 years now.
Together,
okay.
Yeah.
So 13 years, and technology has come a long way. And, it's obviously different, ghost hunting or looking for spirits or whatever the case is. It's different than in the 50s or the 60s. And of course, in the last 13 years, technology has advanced a lot, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Even in what you guys do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's always new things to try out.
Yeah. So let's get right into the meat of it, because I've been asking everybody about this. So in your opinion, we'll start with you, Mark. Where are some of the most haunted places in and around Michigan, like areas? We'll start with areas first.
For the Detroit area, I would definitely say Fort Wayne, downtown Detroit. You get out towards Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, it would be our jewel, the Willis Inn. Mackinac Island up in the northern area. I was very impressed with the Allegan County Jail, which I believe is out towards Kalamazoo. Even the Silversides Museum in Muskegon, is it? I believe it's Muskegon. That was actually very active also. So there's places all over the state that people can investigate.
Yeah. Terry, what do you think?
I agree with all of those. The Willis Inn is definitely my favorite. I was also really impressed with Michigan Theater in Jackson.
Yep.
That place can be pretty wild, especially if you're sitting in the theater and it's dark. You can just see all the movement around you. It's pretty crazy. Also the Edson.
Yep, the USS Edson.
The USS Edson.
In Bay City.
We've caught some interesting things off of that. Jackson State Prison, Traverse City is pretty active. So,
and the historic Hall Theater. We did get a couple of very good pictures from there. One looks like an apparition sitting in a theater seat.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I had equipment that's never been triggered anywhere else activate there, and I was very excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you guys mentioned a few things. So just for people that are watching or listening right now, you guys are about my 9th or 10th interview that I've done for this project. And people have brought up, obviously, Fort Wayne, and people have brought up the Willis Inn is interesting because I was just at Boneheads, a couple weeks ago.
Right.
We were talking about that, but many people have said Boneheads or, the Willis Inn. and of course, places on Mackinac. So some of these places, oh, and the Michigan Theater as well. One of the girls I talked to actually got her shirt tugged on by something while she was sitting on stage. In that theater in Jackson, some of the places in Jackson as well, like the prison and stuff, have a
Right.
lot of activity, right?
Yep.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
So, so as far as like particular places, like buildings or whatever, Terry, I'll start with you. What are some of the buildings that you found? I mean, we just mentioned a few of them, but is there any others?
Other buildings
Yeah,
in Michigan.
yeah.
Um, we've been so many places. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Willis is always the crown jewel to me, but
Have you
um,
had a lot of experiences there? Because you keep going back to that.
Actually, we've been researching that house since 2013. So we've probably done probably better than 75 investigations. And we actually now have it open so that teams can rent it, or we are having a public event there this year. There's a lot of activity there. We've really never had a bad experience. We catch so much out of there.
we've got
Oh,
we've got a couple pictures.
Yeah.
We've got tons of EVPs. And a lot of people get a lot of physical interaction there too.
And it was actually the first place that I ever seen an apparition with my own two eyes.
And I've seen it too.
well,
And a
tell me
lot of
about
people
that.
have.
Yeah, tell me about that story. How'd that go?
I was standing in the backyard and there's a child. He's about 11 years old. His name is Larry. I was looking right at him. I would not have seen him, but he turned and walked behind a tree, and I was just shocked. It took me 2 minutes of trying to rationalize what I had just seen. And then right after that, I heard 3 footsteps in right behind me. I turned around and there was nobody there at all.
And
But
Terry, you witnessed the same thing?
I wasn't there with him at the time. When I saw Larry, I was outside and there was a group of us talking, and I look across the yard and I actually saw a little boy run across the yard toward the woods. And I didn't say anything, but another girl said, "Did you just see that? Did you see the kid running?" And I said, "Yep, I saw it." So we know that was Larry. And there's also a woman in blue that one of the owners has seen and a friend of his has seen. Um, Funny story about the Willis House Inn, when they're renovating it. When they first started, the plumber came over and they just gone into town. And I guess the plumber opened the door and heard a lady's voice say, "They're not here." And he went inside. Nobody was in the house. So he went out and waited in the car. So yeah, we've got pictures. There've been all sorts of activity there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you guys talk about this kid named Larry. I was gonna say, since you're there all the time, do you get any sort of like I don't know, have you bonded with some of these spirits?
believe it or not, I've seen Larry 3 times now. He's yelled to me from the woods. I have video with a device that we have that it's a Connect, and it'll skeletonize any infrared movement. And I got video of him more or less climbing up a tree. I actually took him Green Army men. He takes some, I take him coins now and then, pennies and nickels, things like that. So yes, he does know us.
So you said you'd never had a bad experience there. I mean, obviously, Larry, a little kid like that. Have you ever had a bad experience, like a quote unquote bad experience with a spirit?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It was trying to attack her, so we had to get her out of the house. We actually ended the investigation that night, and my 2 investigators, they went back to deal with it but on their own. But we had to have the house properly grounded, so they had to cut the power and properly ground the house because the whole house was just crazy with EMF. So whenever it was there, it was feeding off it. And so we had to get rid of it. And unfortunately, I don't think we really crossed it over. I would assume that it probably just jumped to another house. Unfortunately, it's somebody else's problem, I would assume.
Now, was that here in Michigan?
Yes.
And what part of the state?
Less than a half a mile from the Pontiac State Mental Hospital at Telegraph and M59.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Right.
So, Terry, you were physically touched?
No.
No, actually, I didn't even realize what was happening at the time. I just started feeling, I hate to say it, but I started feeling really stoned and just really at peace. And I mean, I barely remember sitting on the stairs, kind of slumped against the wall, and one of the other investigators saw me, and he knew what was happening to me at the time. And they're like, get her out of the house right now. So to me, afterwards, when I realized what was happening, it was frightening. But at the time, I don't have much recollection of that night.
Now, have either one of you ever been touched by a spirit?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Hey.
Mark, you say, oh yeah, like a lot of times or just a few times or?
It seems like every male spirit out there. Oh my hair. Like, why does this guy have long hair? And
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, some spirits like to grab
Right.
your hair. Okay.
and that's happened more times than I can even count.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. What about you, Terry?
I've been touched.
Yeah. And she doesn't want to go any further with that.
I don't need
Okay.
to. Can't turn around and slap them, unfortunately. So,
Yeah.
But yes, I've been touched.
So, Terry, was that experience in Pontiac maybe the craziest you've had or no?
It was definitely one of the weirdest. I mean, you think about, being attacked by a spirit or something, you think about, feeling physically assaulted and getting out of there. But in this case, I didn't even realize what was happening. And I mean, it was almost like it was, putting me to sleep in a peaceful state, and I didn't even know what was going on. So if somebody else hadn't noticed, who knows how far that could have gone.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of scary.
So, Mark, were you there? Did you notice this too?
Yeah, we were all doing our investigation, and it was when I'd come back upstairs that I saw her sitting on the stairs, and I was like, what's up? And I noticed that she was acting very strange. So I called everybody back in, and we got her out of the house.
Hmm.
Yeah. She also, well, it's not in the state, but she had a similar experience in Gettysburg also, where something was trying to, I don't know how you'd call it.
I don't know if it's attach itself, communicate, possess. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, something was just getting into me.
Right.
Yeah, I talked about this with a few of the other people, but yeah, I was in Gettysburg. And this didn't happen to me, but I was on a tour, and like a kid and 13 or 14-year-old kid stopped the guy talking about the tour and told him that somebody had their hands on his shoulders, and of course nobody was standing behind him. So it was a really bizarre moment.
Right.
Where were you touring?
That tour started on the third floor of one of the houses, and the third floor was where the soldiers would shoot down the street. And when they were killed, they dragged their bodies across the.
Is that the Jenny Wade house?
No.
No, that's only 2 floors.
I can't
It's-
remember what it's called, but on the second floor of this house, I guess it's a bed and breakfast, and people complain
Right.
all the time about hearing noises upstairs. After 2, 3 in the morning, they say they lock the doors at 10 o'clock. I don't know.
Right.
But this kid
Okay.
seemed pretty pale. I could say that.
Gettysburg, we've been there several times. It's very active.
Yeah, so I hear. Yeah. Mark, would that be one of the craziest things that you've witnessed with her in Pontiac or in?
Actually, the Gettysburg experience was probably a little bit more crazy because she had gone up to the top of the monument by herself, and I didn't even realize there was a upper floor to it
Mm.
until she come crawling across the lower part because she was saying it was trying to knock her down the stairs. And so,
I
that was,
felt completely off balance and just I couldn't see straight. And I mean, it wasn't vertigo. It was just, I felt like something was trying to knock me off the stairs. So I was actually crawling on my hands and knees till I could get down all the stairs and the ground. It was, I was doing a little butt scooch down the stairs and then crawling across the floor and trying to get safe. And yeah, Mark didn't know I got up there. She's like, "What's going on?"
and that was right before um, dark at Gettysburg. It was right. I mean, you could still see a little bit of the sun. So we were leaving real soon anyway.
Mm.
But just the fact that it attacked her, and we get into the car, we're going back to town, and she's saying, "I need a drink." And it's like, okay. And we get back to the town, we get to the bar, and what does she order? She orders bourbon. Well, she doesn't drink
Bourbon.
whiskey at all, except for that night.
Well, that's exactly what I might have to do later on tonight if listening to your stories. I'm always looking for an excuse, if you know what I'm saying. So, no, that's really cool. So, do you guys remember your first brush with the spirits, the afterlife, or what?
Mine was when I was very young. So
Is
it
that what
was,
got you into it?
I was always interested in it. Yeah, since I was really young. I didn't tell him about it until a year after we were married and then found out he was very into it too. So, but yeah, mine was when I was very young. I always knew where my great grandmother would hide things. I knew where all the secret cupboards were in the house. Um, I knew where my great great grandmother's house, exactly where that was. And it turns out that my great great grandmother was showing me where she was hiding all the dolls and all the antiques and everything.
Hmm.
Um, so I always just knew far too much including family secrets that I shouldn't know.
What about you, Mark?
I remember my first paranormal experience, but I'm going to decline telling you because it was, it's in the family. Nobody likes to talk about it.
All right, fair
Okay.
enough. That's fair. So, Terry, it's funny because I didn't realize until I started doing this project, but at least here in Michigan, there seems to be a lot of women that are into this.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to wonder, you've got to be curious.
Mm.
What happens? What happens after you die? There's too much out there that's never been explained that, everybody's got an opinion. Some people say you die, that's it, boom. Or you die, you go to heaven, that's it. Well, what about for thousands of years, all these occurrences that have been documented and seen? There's no explanation. I mean, we still don't have all the answers. It wasn't that long ago people thought the world was flat. Come on.
Mm.
So, maybe one day we will, but until then, it's still all trying to find out the answers. Everybody's curious.
Yeah.
So we just want to put the time in to find out.
Yeah. Mark, you were saying that you got do you have some tours or something coming up, you said, or?
Yep. They can check out the willishouseinn.com or Willis House Inn on Facebook. Actually, we've also started the homeowners, I should say, started a smaller program, 2 hours, coffee, dessert, and the history and the stories of their house because they live there full time. And they have 1,000,001 stories of things that happen, people saying goodnight when they're in bed, TVs turning on, kids' toys activating for no reason. They have guests over and they'll hear a big crash upstairs, like something just got knocked over. And of course, they go up there to look and everything is fine.
Wow.
But it happens all the time there.
So is that kind of like your guys' go-to place? You guys spend a lot of time there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And of course you get some barbecue down the street, I suppose, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whenever possible.
Yeah, I got to get back out there on my motorcycle here before the snow flies. But that seems like an interesting place. And I was going to say maybe I'd have to talk to the owners of the house there to talk with them here for this
Sure.
project. But yeah, I've heard a
Set
lot
it
of
up. Come
stuff.
do a podcast from there one night.
Yeah, maybe I
They'd
should.
love that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
I might be scared. I'm not sure. Have you guys ever, you talked about that incident in Pontiac, but have you ever been truly frightened?
I was in Virginia, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. It was a small tour group, me and one of the tour guides were in the children's ward, but she went over to the next ward. So I'm standing in this ward by myself. And when I was walking out, I heard something banging on the window of a very known active room. And being in this building by myself while in that ward, yeah, I picked up the pace to get out of that ward quickly.
What about you, Terry? Would it be the Pontiac experience, or is there something else?
No, I think the worst for me was when I thought something was trying to push me down the stairs, because those are some pretty steep stairs in Gettysburg.
In Gettysburg, yeah.
That was, yeah, Pontiac, it didn't hit me what was happening until after the fact. So I didn't really have a chance to be scared. But Gettysburg, yeah, when I thought something was trying to push me down the stairs, that frightened me.
Yeah. So do you think, you guys have traveled all over the state and stuff. Is it, is it fairly active, the state?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of places in the state. Even the city of Milwaukee, which is a car carrier up in Manistee, and the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Arcacia. That's a museum. You can spend the night there. They have really nice accommodations and everything, and that place is haunted. It's pretty active too. There's a lot of places in the state, and we've actually traveled all over the country from like Gettysburg all the way out to Iowa.
Mm. A lot of people bring up most of the people I've talked to have brought up the Whitney. Have you guys been down there?
Yes, but they don't really allow full-fledged investigations.
Right.
They do like a dinner and a tour, but it's not a full-fledged investigation. There is reported that it is haunted. I've never been in it though.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you guys, thank you so much for your time, Marter Paranormal, and it's been really cool talking to you guys down there. Can we say where you're at right now?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah,
Dearborn.
you guys are in Dearborn, yeah. And people can check out marterparanormal.com and join up with you guys. And happy Halloween. I hope that you guys have a great one. And it's been really good talking to you guys, and good luck with everything. And thank you so much for taking the time.
Well,
Thank you.
for having us on.
A big thank you to Mark and Terri from Marter Paranormal, as well as Roxanne Rhoads, as we wrap up this episode 4. The 5th and final episode of the month of October comes up next week. We're going to talk with Tim Ellis and Brad Blair. They're going to give us all sorts of great haunted stories from up north, like in the UP, as well as Jessica from the Mystic Mitten podcast. Something crazy happened while I was talking to Jessica, so we're going to save her to last. And much, much more next week on Haunted Michigan for the final episode of this year.